Okay. Grandma, we need you in this too. You got a chair? Okay, there we go. Okay. Um, there she goes. Okay. Grandpa, what would happen if you flipped your phone sideways or whatever you're using?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's see.
Hey, Uncle Johnny.
Hey, Doc, what's up?
Ah,
Okay.
here we go. All right. All right. We knew we could
Hey,
do it.
Imogene. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Hey, Reggie, you want to come see Grandma and Grandpa? Here, come look. They're right here.
Oh,
Oh, that's really neat. Here, come here. Come look. And RJ.
This is great. This is great. It's great to
Look
see
at
you guys.
yeah.
Hi, Reggie.
Can you say?
Yeah. Tell me hi.
Hi.
It's so pretty.
Guys, now I've been alive for 35 years, and it's always been Aunt Imogene and Uncle Johnny. How long you guys been married?
59.
59 years, going on 60 years.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I'm going to tell you something. We've been married 59 years and have never spent 1 year in this house with just the two of us. We've always had either the kids or grandkids or great grandkids. Someone has lived with us all 59 years that we have been married. Someone is still living with us today.
You guys are true vessels of refuge.
That's a nice way to
59 years. I'm trying to think. I don't even know how long my grandma and grandpa would have been married around now. I need to figure that out.
Yeah, because they were a few years ahead of us somewhere up the line.
They had around the same amount of kids. They had 5 kids. Y'all all got around the same amount of kids. I know Uncle Melvin got 4.
We had 5.
Yeah, I got 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, and all y'all had around the same amount. That's a long time. How long you guys lived in Pacific?
Emma been here all her life.
I've been here 78 years.
Amazing.
Oh, 79 in August.
Amazing. Looking great, ain't Imogene?
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, seriously. It's a testament, man.
Okay, who is Kay? You know, who is Rosalind?
Well, you want to tell
Regina Kay is the oldest. She's the oldest, and Rosalind was the baby girl. Let me see. Kay was born in 61, and Rosalind was born in 64.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, for the longest, I had thought Shelly was the oldest. So I had that all kinds of wrong.
Shelley and Kay were like a little less than a year apart.
Got you.
Shelley was born in 62.
Got you. That
And
makes
then
way
we
more
lost
sense.
baby in 63, John Jr. And then Roz come in 64 and Derek came in 68.
You know, in transition of my parents, you know, my mom, Kay, who we were talking about for anybody who's going to watch this later, you know, she passed away a few years ago. And we just wanted to mention Kay and my Aunt Roz because we love them and we don't forget them. I know my grandma, every one of their birthdays, Mother's Day, anytime she can think about it, she's always up there giving them flowers. She calls all her grandchildren on those days that she remembers them. And so we brought them up because a lot of people don't know that.
we had a challenge. Okay, me and Melvin wound up in the same class. So we went all the way through high school. Matter of fact, mostly through school together. So we always had a buddy. because we buddies. We, you know, like a lot of brothers don't get along that well. But me and
Very
him
true.
had together and done a lot of things together. And we would be setting up in class with this one young lady, and her mother and father owned a ice cream stand. But they would tell you you couldn't eat the ice cream. Now that girl sitting there in the aquarium where the people would lounge, and they're telling you that you couldn't eat the ice cream in there. But then you sat at school in the class with them 3-4 hours out of a day's run. You know, that was embarrassing, heart-wrenching. It was troublesome. You don't have them people to come out and tell you that right in front of the kid. When the kid gets to school, he got something on his mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt.
Wonder
No
what
doubt.
race is of me. That's the epitome of racism.
Yeah.
So, you know,
We talk about ice cream, and then I'm sure it made you want to scream.
Talking about ice cream, yeah.
Because when we bought this house area here, we bought the lot, and the lot was $1,000. We went to the bank to get it financed, and the bank refused. But they said they wanted this property for a parking lot for the church. But it just happened so my cousin was the one that owned it. So she said, well, I'll just finance it myself and they can just pay me for it. And so that's how we happen to wind up right here. But purchasing property at that time was almost impossible for people of color.
I can imagine.
Yeah, when that was 59 years ago, right, babe? About 58 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, around the same marriage time. No
talking
doubt.
about funny now, things were funny back during that time. Show me.
that funny money.
You never see the root word, you see the evidence. Because the root was really always hid. And that's why it's hard right now for people to understand what racism is because they refuse to accept the root. The root was to teach it and tell it at home for the children left. So you got it in them. When they get to be teenagers, it's already planted. See, the plant is so deep, so it just takes God to move. That's the only thing that really moves. Is the Spirit of God working in the hearts of the people. And you see it in the streets now, because half the time in these protests you see is more of the other race than it is ours, but they're still protesting for the same reason. Because look at the results. Is them great big old trees that come up there with all the rest of that stuff on it. Look at it all the way to the top, to the last leaf on the tree.
But if the root's tainted, then the fruit comes out.
Yeah, that's right. And whatever it is, if it's the evil root, and it's hard to clean him up, boy, after he gets going.
Well, you know what? Some people would call that sin. You know, I being one of them. I think that's
what it is.
You know, we're talking about just the sheer being able to purchase a home, but like even when you did, purchasing it in a marginalized part of the town. You know, like, I mean, there's been at least stories of five floods, you know, that I know of. And it's almost as if the train tracks are sort of a levee, you know, for the flood, that the flooding stops. You know, the flooding really
right
stops.
Up the track.
You know, it doesn't go, it goes up to the tracks. And I've seen that. I've lived that. It's too good to be, I mean, when you think about the story, it's like, well, water has done damage, but so has fire. And I think a lot of people don't know that that's part of your story. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In 1973, our home was burnt to the ground. And we were at the drive-in when it took place. And it was because your grandpa was running for alderman in Pacific. He had won the election, but it was so much bad stuff done until they decided to try to, 3 days before the election, they paid some people to burn our home down
How you
to
doing?
try to scare us away.
Are you serious, Aunt Imogene?
Huh?
Are you serious? I've never heard this story.
Yes, they burned our home to the ground, and he had won the election, but it was so much crooked stuff done with the ballots, and they didn't want him to win because he would have been the first black to ever hold office in the history of Mississippi. So we lived here and there until we were able to get another place. And even when they tried to say that we burn our own home down, you know, and when they finally covered us, I remember taking the check to the bank to pay the house off. And this one guy, he told me that they didn't have the money there. I could leave the check and come back the next day. And I told him, no, I was not going to leave the check. I would come back the next day. So instead, I went to another town, Union, Missouri, and the man let me in. And that's where we started. We cashed the check and paid off the house that way.
But the idea of running for alderman was that this end of the town was never finished. And our children had to walk up the street to catch the bus going to school. And my idea was if I could get in the system, we could get sidewalks down here for the children, because that trailer court adjacent to where we live here, between here and the track, was a gravel road, and them guys drank in that trailer court and come through here like wild men. And then another thing was told, and I don't know why, but I guess so many things we missed. But these streets around here were all made of rocks, and they put that oil on it with the dioxin in it that was actually poison. And in Time Beach, they paid them people off and was supposed to have cleaned that dioxin up, but they never said nothing about this area where we lived here. Was never.
Oh,
I mean, so those are things that, you know, you just grinned and buried the load, because where'd you go to? But the authority, and the authority doing the damage.
so you're telling me there's been the water, the flood, there's a fire, and then poison.
You got to live. What you gonna do?
I mean, looking back, it's really easy for me to say, well, it seems apparent to me you needed to run to the church because that was the only place you're going to get some help. But that's looking back. How do you come to that conclusion while it's happening?
Well, because I was brought up in the church. See, from the day we was born, all of us in our family, from the day we was born, we was brought up in the church. Sunday school was something we've done religious. And so that's why your mom and your auntie, both of your aunties, now your uncle, he had his other way of thinking. but your mom and your two aunties were the steadfast members in the church and worked hard. And Rosalind and Kay, and I know for a witness, physically, that they were gold in the church, because they were missionary material, and they worked it. Because if you'd asked them anything about the Bible, they had your back. And so they not only did they talk it, but they walked it. If the devil wasn't meddling with us, then he wouldn't be no real devil. Am I preaching a little bit? Our basic foundation was to be built on holiness and righteousness, to do our very best. And sometimes we get confused and get kind of concerned about the fact that we don't be able to witness to as many as we wish we could. But that's what Joshua said when they challenged him to come down. He said, I won't come down because I'm doing a good work. And so, you know, the enemy come and say, oh, you got to turn that church loose. You can't handle that church. See, that's what Moses was saying, talking about he couldn't talk. So God let him know, if you're going to talk, if you don't talk, I'm the one that's responsible for that. So when he woke up then and found out that, you know, all of his help come from the Lord, he just went on about his business then. But that happens to folks that I remember when I thought, oh, surely the Lord ain't calling me into the ministry. Surely not. You know, crook. I mean, I was thinking that the Lord can't use no crooks. But what I didn't understand was if you're going to get straightened out, the Lord would have to do it. And if he needed and wanted you for a witness, you know, that's your calling. And I've been running ever since. I've been what? Oh, Lord, that's been 35, 40 years.
I'm starting to notice that a lot more people are doing more Bible studies, and I'm in more Bible studies than I ever have been, and reading scriptures and, you know, that kind of thing. But just as far as reaching out to anybody with scriptures that could be helpful, what kind of scriptures are on your mind right now?
We are in Sunday school. We're teaching in Proverbs about wisdom, seeking wisdom. And how important it really is to seek wisdom, because it will enlighten you to trouble and first one thing and another, and help you to be able to go beyond, around bad thresholds or entering into areas that's not good for you, or whatever term you want to use, you know. I was just thinking, you woke me up somewhat to the seriousness of the veil, because it was not really on my mind as serious as it was, because they always had a veil in the temple when they built it in the wilderness, because that's where the high priest went, beyond the veil, to do service. And they had to be without blemish, because they left a rope tied on their leg, and if he didn't measure up, they had to drag him out.
You know what's funny? I was listening to you guys just talk and explain your stuff, and you said something earlier. You said that you wish that you could spread the word more to more people than you would like to right now. It seems like it's working more than you think it is.
Well, I thank God for that. That's good news. Because, you know, you don't get that all the time. But I notice anytime that me and Nick get in one another's company, we have some discussions about Bible things. And we learn from one another. And that's what the scripture is saying in Proverbs. There was in iron sharpens iron. You know, we don't have a controversy about things. We learn how to understand that the word of God actually is the power of God unto the saving of our soul. So the only thing that's mad around here is the devil.
But I did hear glimpses about a story where I think you sold a bike, a motorcycle, or a truck or something.
I told on him. I told on you.
Back then, when I was in school and when I was coming up, my parents were poor. I didn't have much. And when I had my first child with Regina, I always said my kids will not go to school like I had to go to school. So Kay was the first one to go to school, didn't have money to go out and buy her school clothes. But he had a black truck that was full of junk. While he was at work, I sold that truck, his tools, and I went and bought all new school clothes, tore all the tags off so he couldn't make me take them back. The following year, Shelly was starting school. We were in the same shape. And I thought, now I got two in school. So he had a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Well, so I sold the motorcycle. Used the money to buy my kids clothes because I never wanted them to come up. When I was coming up, I got a new pair of shoes when I had a hole in the bottom of mine. And I didn't want my kids coming up like that. So, and I think that's why all of them were kind of spoiled too. And the ones today are spoiled.
You would say you had the wisdom. So you brought the wisdom to the side.
I think that was Mother Witch.
Hold on. Going through like a predominantly white high school and a predominantly white college, you know, you learn real quick you're gonna have a white friend here and there. So, you know, me and Nick, we also had friends of the opposite race too. And, you know, Nick was telling me that you had one of those. I think I heard about a dude named Johnny Taylor. And look, I thought he was talking about the blues singer, These Last $2, Johnny Taylor.
No, but that young man is gold, man. He proved himself, not by merely talking, but his actions speak louder than words. Stay with the church. Stay with the church and read your Bible. And know that your Bible is in this country. Let me put it that way because I ain't been in no other country. But in this country, the English language is the basic language that we have to understand. And when you take the Bible written in the English language, I guarantee you anything else you need, God will provide. But you have to know that. That's where the faith kick in. Because it says impossible. Without faith, it's impossible to believe in God or to please him or to do the work but that will surpass all other things. Because I know they say follow the money, and the gold and silver is all right, but it only goes to the grave. When you get to the grave, it'll stop. But you got to go beyond the grave because eternal life is already set in motion. We're going to either live here until we die and either go to heaven or hell. And don't let nobody fool you someplace else. There ain't no place else. Now, the thief on the cross, I'm going to throw in on that a little bit. The thief on the cross was right there with Jesus before he left. So when he said, when you come to your kingdom, remember me. He said, this day thou shalt be with me in paradise. He sealed that boy's deal before he left me.
I have raised these kids. I've taken care of elderly people, brought them in my home and taken care of them. And I don't know if Nick told you, but about a month or two ago, I had a slight stroke in my right hand. And being in the hospital, they told me that I had a hole in my heart. And I said, do what? And they said it had been there since birth. That meant it's been there for 78 years. And the doctor said, we can go in and close it. And I said, well, I feel like this. It's been there 78 years. God knew it was there. And he has watched over me and protected me all these 78 years to be able to be here to take care of my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and whoever else. So I told him, no, I will not let you close it because I feel like if I've been here 78 years, well, he's going to keep me another 78 years. So, and I just keep on going. I babysit every day, 7 days a week almost, I babysit.
Wow.
Mm.
Isn't that something? You're missing a piece of your heart and got more heart than everybody that got their full heart. Showing more love than everybody that's got their hearts fully intact. That is simply amazing.
And I think many people are wondering, well, why would we put something like this together? And it's certainly not to bask in the sadness of these stories. You know, just thinking about the stories and what you've had to do in spite of a system that worked against you alone brings great sadness. But your story testifies to a true movement of the heart. It's beyond an urban legend. It's beyond folklore. It's your story from your mouths. And really, it's the meat and potatoes of a three-part concept that we have for sharing the story of our family. You know, you've been a huge influence on us, and that's what started our journey in this. We are a witness that you have found joy in your mourning. You have found peace that passes our understanding, and you've taken care of hundreds of people who aren't your children, and yet hundreds of more who aren't even related to you. You've been flooded 5 times and had your home burned down once for a total of 6 rebuilds, and you still stand. That seems like the gospel lived. And I'm not just saying it because I'm your grandson. RJ's not just saying it because he's your nephew. You know, we're saying this because in an unjust world, we see that there's still hope. You know, I believe that when God's justice reigns, it's a kind of restorative justice that's real clear and reconciling among God's people. And I believe that we live in a country that is spiritually malnourished of God's restorative justice. And I think I can speak on it behalf of at least Roy and I when I say thank you for a glimpse of hope that you've shown us. And moreover, and unfortunately, historically, we know that stories like yours don't make the headlines, and we have family right now who needs that hope. And selfishly, I want our family members to see the truth in the difficulties of the lives of Black women and men, you know, like you guys, and you're surviving, and the persistence, even though there's persistence of inequality in itself. You've shown us what faith can do. And I think so many people are leaning really far right or leaning really far left. And I think you guys are a testament and a true example of what leaning vertically, you know, can really do and show. And so I'm glad we got to spend this time together. And
Yes, thank you. Well,
I
sweet.
think these.
All right.
Well, yeah, man. I guess I'll wrap up with y'all later. I guess I'll see you later, Nick.
Peace
Yep.
be on to you, man.
Yep.
Till we meet again.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Grandma.
All right,
All
Bobby.
right, Nick.
We'll be talking.
All right, see you guys.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.